At my daughter's wedding, her groom raised his glass with a smirk to the walking wallet, who made all of this possible. The guest burst into laughter. Loving the joke, I just smiled, walked over, and handed him an elegant white envelope. My wedding gift. He tore it open gleefully, expecting a fat check. Within seconds, his face turned deathly pale. Moments later, security dragged him out in handcuffs, right from his own reception. What was really inside that envelope? Before continuing, subscribe to our new channel, where we tell stories about men who take revenge on their insolent children, sons-in-law, and daughters-in-law. My name is Robert Collins. I'm 64 years old, living in Delray Beach, Florida. Built a chain of 5 auto dealerships from nothing. Collins Premium Motors. People think selling cars is easy. It's not. It's reading people. Understanding what they want versus what they need. Knowing when someone's lying to your face while smiling. I thought those skills would keep me safe. Turns out the people closest to you are the hardest to read. 12 years ago, my wife passed. Since then, it's been just me and my daughter Ashley. She became my entire world. Everything I did, every deal I closed, every dollar I earned, it was all for her. I paid for her medical school without blinking. Centre Archemayuen. Ling ling ling. Watched her graduate, become a pediatric resident. We bought her a condo near the hospital so she wouldn't have to worry about rent during those brutal shifts. Some fathers give their daughters advice. I gave mine a life without obstacles. 6 months ago, Ashley brought home Justin Weber. Sanchasu. Worked as a financial consultant. Tall. Confident. The kind of guy who walks into a room and expects everyone to notice. Ashley was glowing when she introduced us at dinner. Dad. This is Justin. He's amazing. The way she looked at him, I hadn't seen her that happy since before her mother died. So, I smiled. Shook his hand. I told myself the slight discomfort I felt was just standard father of the bride nerves. Then I met his family, Patricia Weber. Justin's mother was one of those women who wore her wealth like armor. Every time we met, she'd mention something expensive she'd just bought, always followed by a comment about maintaining standards. Her husband, David, a partner at some law firm, had the personality of a contract negotiation. Cold. Calculating. Everything measured for advantage. Still, Ashley loved Justin, and Justin seemed to adore her. When he proposed 3 months ago, she called me crying happy tears. Dad, I'm getting married. I took them both to dinner the next night. Justin ordered the most expensive wine on the menu without asking if I minded bast. Small thing. But I noticed, over dessert, he started talking about the wedding. Ashley deserves the best. Robert, I'm thinking the breakers in Palm Beach. Spare no expense. He said it like he was doing me a favor by letting me pay. Ashley squeezed his hand. Looked at me with those hopeful eyes. Dad, would that be okay? What was I supposed to say? I agreed. 287美元. 000 for a wedding. The venue alone cost $90. Ling ling ling. But I've learned that money isn't just for buying things, it's for buying happiness. And Ashley's happiness was worth every penny. Or so I thought. The Webers invited us over for dinner 2 weeks ago. Wanted to coordinate wedding details. Patricia said their house in Palm Beach was exactly what you'd expect. Spotless, expensive, and completely devoid of warmth. We sat in their dining room, a table that could seat 12, but somehow felt cramped with just 6 of us. Patricia served salmon that probably cost more per pound than most people's entire dinner. David poured wine and talked about his latest case. Named dropping judges like we were supposed to be impressed. Justin kept his arm around Ashley, playing the devoted fiancé. I sat there eating overpriced fish, wondering why everything felt so choreographed. After dinner, we moved to the living room, coffee and dessert. Ashley and Patricia went to the kitchen to get something. David stepped out to take a call. Justin excused himself to the bathroom. I sat on their uncomfortable designer couch, checking my phone. Then I realized this wasn't my phone. Same model as Justin's. Same black case. Must have grabbed his by mistake from the coffee table. The screen was unlocked. A group chat was open. Family chat. Said the name at the top. Justin. Patricia. David. I should have put it down. Should have looked away. But a message from Patricia caught my eye. That old fool is so easy to manipulate. My stomach went cold. I scrolled up. More messages. Justin. I just got him to agree to another 15. 000 for the band upgrade. Walking ATM is more like it. Patricia. Make sure Ashley keeps him happy. We can't kill the goose that lays golden eggs. David. Exactly. Milk him slowly. Once they're married, we can ease him out. But keep the money flowing. Justin again. Don't worry. Ashley's so desperate for approval, she'll do whatever I say. And her dad. Guys like him live to be used. Probably makes him feel important. I stared at the screen. Each word was a knife. Precise and cruel. They had a name for me. Chadachi Hamanets. That's how Justin spelled it phonetically in one message. Had to look it up later. Ukrainian means walking wallet. The bathroom door opened down the hall. Justin's footsteps approached. I put the phone back on the table exactly where he'd left it. Picked up mine. My hands were steady. Strange how calm I felt. Not angry yet. Just cold. Calculating. My face arranged itself into the same pleasant expression I'd been wearing all evening. Justin came back. Grabbed his phone without noticing anything wrong. Sorry about that. Robert. Work stuff. No problem. I said. My voice sounded normal. Yes. Like I hadn't just read my entire future rewritten as their con. Ashley and Patri this possible. They all laughed. Even Ashley. Though she looked embarrassed. Dad doesn't mind. She said quickly. He loves me. I do. I said. Looked each of them in the eye as I said it. I do anything for my daughter's happiness. Justin clapped me on the shoulder. That's what I love about you. Robert. You're such a giving person. The drive home. Ashley fell asleep in the passenger seat. I drove in silence. My mind working through what I'd learned. The Webbers thought they'd found an easy mark. A lonely old man. Desperate to buy his daughter's love. Too stupid to see he was being played. They weren't completely wrong. I had been blind, but they'd made one critical mistake. They assumed that because I was willing to spend money on my daughter, I was a fool. In business, I dealt with con artists before. Salesmen who thought they could cheat me. Competitors who underestimated the guy who started selling used cars from a rented lot. I'd learned to smile while planning my next move. Learned to let people think they were winning while I built my real strategy in silence. As I pulled into my driveway, Ashley stirred awake. We're home. We're home. Sweetheart. She kissed my cheek. Thanks for everything. Dad, you're the best. I watched her walk to her car. Drive away to her condo. Stood in my driveway. Looking at my house. The house I'd bought after my dealerships took off. The house where I'd raised her after her mother died. The walking wallet. That's what they called me. I went inside. Poured myself a bourbon. Sat in my workshop where I restore classic Corvettes. Currently working on a 1967 Cherry Red. Sometimes you have to take something apart completely to see what's really wrong with it. My phone buzzed. Text from Justin. Thanks for dinner. Robert. You're a real sport about everything. Can't wait for you to be family. I read it twice. Then I started making a list. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat in my workshop thinking. The bourbon sat untouched after the first sip. I needed clarity. Not comfort. Here's what I knew. Ashley was in love. Real love. The kind that makes smart people stupid. If I confronted her now, told her what I'd seen, she'd defend Justin. Love makes you do that. I'd seen it 1,000 times. People buying cars they couldn't afford because their boyfriend said it was a good idea. Wives co-signing loans for husbands who'd never pay them back. Ashley would think I was jealous. Overprotective. Couldn't let her grow up. The Webbers would spin it. Poor Robert. So lonely he's trying to sabotage his daughter's happiness. And maybe, just maybe, Ashley would choose Justin over me to prove her independence. No, Confrontation was out. I pulled up my accounting software. Looked at the wedding expenses so far. Deposits. Payments. Commitments. 287美元. Ling ling ling. The number didn't bother me. I've spent more on inventory for a single dealership. What bothered me was the certainty in those text messages they'd already won in their minds. Already counting my money as theirs. Around 3:00 inches the morning. I started remembering. Couldn't help it. Ashley at 7 learning to ride a bike in our driveway. She'd fallen. Scraped her knee, bloody. I ran to help. But she pushed herself up. I can do it. Daddy. Determined. Fearless. When did that little girl become someone who'd let a man like Justin use her? Ashley at 14 after her mother's funeral. We sat on the beach behind our house watching the sunset. She didn't cry. She'd been too strong for that all day. Holding my hand during the service. But when it was just us, she finally said, "It's okay if you're sad. Dad, I won't leave you." I held her while she cried. Made a promise to myself that I'd give her everything her mother couldn't. Maybe that was my mistake. I'd been so focused on giving her everything that I forgot to teach her that some people take without asking, smile while they steal. But I'd also taught her to trust her father. That foundation was still there. I just needed to use it correctly. By sunrise, I had the beginnings of a plan, not the details. Those would come later. But the framework, I wouldn't confront them. I'd investigate. Gather information like I did in business. And when I had enough, when I could prove to Ashley exactly who she'd promised to marry, then I'd act. 2 days later, I called my accountant. Jim's been doing my books for 15 years. Jim, I need a recommendation. Private investigator. Someone thorough. Discreet. What kind of situation? The kind where I need to know everything about someone before I make a major investment. He gave me a name. Frank Dominguez. Former Miami PD detective. Now ran his own firm. Frank doesn't miss anything. Jim said. Also doesn't judge. You want dirt. He'll find it. You want proof. He'll document it. The next morning, I drove to Miami. Frank's office was in a building on Bickle Avenue. Professional. But not flashy. The man himself was in his early 50s. Built like someone who still worked out. Sharp eyes that evaluated me the second I walked in. "Mr. Collins, Jim spoke highly of you." I sat down. Slid a folder across his desk. Inside everything I had on Justin Weber. Address. Workplace. Social media. The works. I need to know everything about this man. Finance. Professional history. Personal life. Relationships. Everything. Frank flipped through the pages. "This about your daughter's fiancé. Yes. You know something's wrong. Or are you just being careful?" I met his eyes. "I know something's wrong. I need to prove it." He nodded slowly. Quoted me. $15. 000 as a retainer. I wrote the check without hesitation. "How deep do you want me to go?" "All the way down. If there's anything to find, I want it found. Give me 2 weeks." I shook his hand. Drove back to Delray Beach. Now came the hard part. Acting normal. That evening, I had dinner with Ashley and Justin at their favorite restaurant. Justin ordered for the table without asking what anyone wanted. "The lobster here is incredible." "Robert, you'll love it." I hate lobster. Always have. But I smiled. "Sounds great." Throughout dinner, I watched him. Really watched. The way he touched Ashley's hand. Possessive. Not affectionate. The way he talked about their future. Always about what they'd have. Never what they'd build. The way he looked at other women when Ashley wasn't watching. That calculating expression like he was keeping his options open. "So, Robert," he said over dessert, "I've been thinking, after the wedding, Ashley and I are going to need a house. Something in the 800. Nulrange. I was hoping you might help with the down payment as a wedding gift." Ashley looked uncomfortable. "Justin, we talked about this. Dad's already paying for the wedding." "I know. Baba. But your dad wants us to have the best start." "Right. Robert." He smiled at me. That same confident smile. The smile of someone who thought he'd already won. I took a sip of wine. let the moment hang, then smiled back. Let's see how the wedding goes first. We'll talk after. The flicker of annoyance in his eyes, gone in a second. But I saw it. He wasn't used to hearing anything but yes. 5 days later, we had another family dinner at the Weber's house. This time, I came prepared, brought a nice bottle of wine, made sure to compliment Patricia's cooking, laughed at David's lawyer jokes, played my role perfectly. After dinner, Justin cornered me in their study. Robert, can I ask you something? Do you understand the difference between stocks and bonds? Can't say I do. I lied. I've had an investment portfolio since I was 30. He laughed. Don't worry about it. Finance isn't for everyone. That's why Ashley's lucky to have me. I'll handle all that complicated stuff. Good thing she has you. I said. Watched him puff up with pride. Exactly. Guys like you. You're great at the simple stuff. Selling cars. Working with your hands. But investments? Wealth management. That takes a different kind of mind. I nodded along. Let him feel superior. Meanwhile, I memorized every word. Cataloged every insult. The bill was getting longer. That night, driving home alone, Ashley had stayed to help Patricia with something. I finally let myself feel it. The anger, cold and sharp and patient. They thought they were playing me. They had no idea the game had just begun. I'd spent 40 years learning to read people, to wait for the right moment, to strike when my opponent thought they were winning. Built a business on those skills. Now, I'd use every single one of them to protect my daughter, even if she didn't know she needed protecting yet. The walking wallet was about to walk away, but not before I made sure they paid for every insult, every manipulation, every lie they'd told my daughter. I just needed to be patient, smarter, better. Lucky for me, I'd had plenty of practice. 2 weeks. Frank said he needed 2 weeks. I gave him 16 days before my phone rang. Mr. Collins, we need to meet. His voice had that tone. The one that means you found something and it's worse than expected. I was in my office at the dealership reviewing inventory reports. Dropped everything. Told my manager I had a meeting. Drove straight to Miami. Frank's office looked the same as before, but the manila folder on his desk was thick, really thick. He gestured for me to sit, then slid it across. You were right to be suspicious, he said. Justin Weber is everything you feared, and more. I opened the folder. Bank statements, photographs, financial records. The first page alone made my hands tighten on the paper. Weber and Associates Investment Group, Frank said, tapping a document. Justin's firm. For the past 2 years, he's been running a scheme. Tells clients he's investing their money in high-yield opportunities. Instead, he's been redirecting funds to personal accounts through shell companies. Classic embezzlement, just dressed up in fancy finance language. How much? Conservative estimate. $1 2 millions. I've documented transactions from at least 8 different clients. 3 of them are willing to testify if it comes to that. They've suspected for months but couldn't prove anything. 2 millions. The number sat in my brain like a brick. But Frank wasn't done. He pulled out a stack of photographs. There's more. Meet Tiffany Miller. Archelou. Works as a manager at a boutique in Aventura. The photos showed Justin with a blonde woman, hotel lobbies, restaurants. One particularly damning shot showed them kissing outside the Fontainebleau in Miami Beach. How long, I asked. 4 months. Every Thursday night. Like clockwork. Sama Hotel. Same room. They're not subtle about it. I've got receipts showing he pays cash for everything. Probably thinks that keeps it off the books. I stared at the photos. My daughter's fiancé, the man who called her babe and talked about their future together, was systematically cheating on her while stealing from his clients. There's one more thing, Frank said quietly. Tiffany's been posting on social media. Nothing explicit, but enough. She's pregnant. 3 months. The room went very still. Does Justin know? Oh. He knows. I've got text message records. She sends them to a burner phone he keeps. He's been promising to leave the rich girl after the wedding. Exact quote. Once I squeeze enough out of the old man and his doctor daughter, he'll be set. Then you and I can disappear somewhere nice. I closed the folder, Back. Processed. They weren't just using me for wedding money. Justin's entire plan was to marry Ashley. Drain both of us financially through his investment opportunities. Then vanish with his pregnant mistress and my money. I need you to keep digging, I said. My voice sounded calm. Detached. The parents, David and Patricia Weber. If the son is this corrupt, I want to know what they're hiding. Frank nodded. Already started. Give me another week. Take 2. Be thorough. I want everything documented. Every piece of evidence clean enough to hold up in court if necessary. Planning something. I stood up. Took the folder, planning to protect my daughter. However that needs to happen. I drove back to Delray Beach thinking about Ashley. How she'd light up when Justin texted her. How she'd shown me her engagement ring. Crying with happiness. How she'd said, "Dad, I finally found someone who loves me, for me." Except he didn't. He loved her bank account. Her access to me. The leverage she provided. That evening, I had another wedding meeting. This time at our house. Ashley wanted to show Justin and his parents the gift registry she'd been working on. I watched them arrive. All smiles and expensive clothes. Patricia Eyre kissed Ashley's cheeks. "Darling, you look tired. Are those hospital shifts getting to you?" "Just busy," Ashley said. "But it's worth it. We're helping so many kids." "How noble," Patricia said in a tone that meant the opposite. Then to me, she added, "Robert, we simply must talk about the rehearsal dinner. I'm thinking we should upgrade the wine selection. The current choices are so pedestrian. Whatever you think is best." I said, smiled, played my part. Justin draped his arm around Ashley's shoulders. "Proprietary. Baba. Show them what you picked for the honeymoon registry." Ashley pulled up her laptop. Excited. "We're asking for contributions to a trip to Bora Bora instead of traditional gifts. Justin found this amazing overwater bungalow resort. $25,000 for 2 weeks. Justin interrupted, "But it's once in a lifetime." "Right. And your dad's guests will want to contribute something meaningful?" "My guests. Not our guests. Mine. Because I was the one with the money they planned to extract." I watched Justin's hand on Ashley's shoulder, watched how he'd steer her toward more expensive options. How he'd phrase everything as what you deserve while really meaning what I want. Watched Patricia nod approvingly. David making mental calculations. The folder from Frank was in my study upstairs. Photos of Justin with Tiffany. Bank records showing stolen money. Evidence of a man who was about to ruin my daughter's life. But I smiled. Laughed at David's jokes. Agreed that yes. The premium champagne sounded perfect for the rehearsal dinner. After they left, Ashley hugged me. "Thanks for being so great about everything." "Dad, I know Justin's family can be a lot. But they really do care about us." "I'm sure they do." "Sweetheart." She went home. I went to my workshop. Pulled out the folder. Spread everything across my workbench. Photos. Financial records. Text messages Frank had recovered. The Corvette sat behind me. Half restored. I'd been working on the engine. Taking it apart piece by piece. Understanding how each component fit together. How one broken part could damage the whole system. Justin Weber was a broken part. And he was about to destroy everything. But now I had documentation. Proof. Evidence that couldn't be dismissed as a father's paranoid suspicions. The question was how to use it. When to use it. I thought about Ashley's face when she talked about the wedding. Her happiness. Her trust in Justin. If I showed her this now, would she believe me? Or would Justin spin some story? Convince her the evidence was fabricated? That I was trying to control her life? No. I needed more than evidence. I needed the right moment. The perfect timing. I needed to let them think they'd won, right up until the second I took everything away. My phone buzzed. Text from Justin. "Great meeting tonight. Robert. Really feeling like family now. Can't wait for you to officially be my father-in-law." I read it twice. Then opened my notes app and started typing. A plan was forming. Not complete yet. But the foundation was there. They wanted to play me. Fina. Let's see how they liked being played. The next morning, I made a call. Not to Frank. He was still digging into the Weber's background. This call was to someone else my accountant had recommended, Caroline Drake, corporate attorney, with a practice in Boca Raton. Mr. Collins, she answered. Professional. Crisp. Jim said you might be reaching out. I need to discuss a legal situation confidentially. My calendar's open tomorrow afternoon. 2 o'clock work for you. I confirmed and hung up. Then I did what I'd been doing for 2 weeks. I went to work. Smiled at customers. Closed deals. Pretended everything was normal. That afternoon, Ashley stopped by the dealership. She did that sometimes during her lunch breaks just to say hi. Today, she had wedding magazines and a worried expression. Dad, can I ask you something? We sat in my office. She spread the magazines across my desk. Is it weird that Justin's parents are so involved in the wedding planning? Patricia keeps changing things without asking me first. Yesterday, she told the florist to swap out my centerpieces for something more sophisticated. When I tried to change them back, she said she was just trying to help because I'm too busy with work to make good decisions. There it was, the first crack in Ashley's rose-colored glasses. I chose my words carefully. What does Justin say when this happens? He says his mom means well, that she just wants everything perfect for us. Ashley bit her lip. But it doesn't feel like our wedding anymore. It feels like theirs. I wanted to show her the folder, wanted to lay out every piece of evidence proving that Justin and his family saw her as nothing more than an investment opportunity. But she wasn't ready. Not yet. What do you want to do about it? I asked instead. I don't know. Justin says I'm being sensitive. That I should be grateful his family cares so much. She looked at me. Am I being ungrateful? Ashley, listen to me. Your feelings are valid. If something doesn't feel right, trust that instinct. She nodded. But I could see the doubt. Justin had already trained her to question her own judgment. Thanks. Dad. She gathered her magazines. I should get back to the hospital. We'll figure it out. After she left, I sat in my office thinking about that conversation, about how Justin was already isolating her, making her doubt herself. Classic manipulation. In a few years, he'd have her completely under his control, unless I stopped him first. The next afternoon, I drove to Boca Raton. Caroline Drake's office was in a glass tower with ocean views. She was mid-40s. Sharp suit. Sharper eyes. We shook hands and I slid Frank's folder across her conference table. She spent 90 minutes reviewing every document. Didn't speak. Just made notes on a legal pad. Finally, she looked up. Mr. Collins. Your future son-in-law is committing federal crimes, embezzlement, wire fraud, probably securities fraud. Once we dig deeper into his investment scheme, this isn't small time. This is FBI territory. What are my options? You could go to the authorities right now. Let them handle it. They'd investigate, probably arrest him within weeks. And Ashley would think I destroyed her happiness out of spite. Caroline nodded slowly. There's that. Or... She tapped the folder. We could be strategic. Build an airtight case. Document everything. Wait for the right moment to act. Make sure when this comes out, it's so overwhelming that there's no way to spin it as anything but what it is. I'm listening. The wedding's in 6 weeks. Correct. 7. Perfect. Here's what I'd recommend. We take this to the SEC and the FBI now. But we ask them to hold off on the arrest. They'll want to investigate anyway. Verify everything. Meanwhile, you continue playing the cooperative father-in-law. Let Justin think he's winning. Then, when we have every federal agency lined up and ready. She smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. We let him have his moment of triumph right before we destroy him. I thought about it. About timing. About impact. I want him arrested at the wedding. I said. Caroline's eyebrows went up. That's bold. They call me their walking wallet. They think I'm stupid. Easy to manipulate. I want them to understand exactly how wrong they were. And I want them to understand it in front of everyone they've been bragging to. Public humiliation is part of the strategy. Public truth. Let everyone see who he really is. She considered it. I'll need to coordinate with the FBI. See if they're willing to play along with the timing. But Mr. Collins, if we do this, there's no going back. You'll be ending your daughter's engagement very publicly. She might not forgive you right away. Better that than watching him destroy her life slowly from the inside. Caroline extended her hand. Then let's build you a case that even a federal prosecutor would envy. I hired her on the spot. Arsha 000 retainer. She made calls while I sat there, first to the SEC, then to someone she knew at the FBI's white-collar crime division. By the time I left her office, I had a meeting scheduled with a special agent, Roger Campbell. For the following week, the rehearsal dinner was coming up. 2 weeks away, the Webbers wanted to host it at the Breakers. Another $30. 000. They'd convinced me to spend. I'd agreed. Of course. Smiled. Played the generous fool. But that night, after confirming everything with Caroline, I drove home and added to my notes. The plan was taking shape, real shape. Frank would finish investigating the Webbers. Caroline would coordinate with federal authorities. I'd continue playing my role, letting them squeeze every dollar they could from me before the wedding. And then, when Justin stood up to make his toast, because there was no way his ego would let him skip that moment, I'd give him a gift he'd never forget. Let him enjoy his champagne. Let him savor what he thought was his victory. I'd learned patience building my business from nothing. Learned to wait for the exact right moment to make my move. Learned that the best deals weren't the fast ones. They were the ones where you understood every angle before you committed. This wouldn't be fast, but it would be perfect. My phone rang. Frank, got preliminary information on David Webber. You're going to want to see this. His law practice has some interesting ethical complaints filed against it. Nothing prosecuted yet. But smoke and fire. You know, document everything. Already am. And Robert, whatever you're planning, make it count. These people are predators. Don't worry. I said, I will. I hung up and looked at my workshop. The Corvette gleamed under the lights. Engine still in pieces on the bench. Sometimes you had to dismantle something completely to fix it properly. Had to understand every part, every connection, every point of failure. I was dismantling Justin Webber's life piece by piece, documenting every crime, every lie, every betrayal. And when I was done, there wouldn't be anything left for him to hide behind. The walking wallet was done walking. Time to show them what happens when you underestimate a man who built everything from nothing. Time to show them that the old man they dismissed as stupid and manipulable had been playing a different game entirely, and I was about to win. The meeting with Special Agent Roger Campbell happened 3 days after I hired Caroline. Federal building in Miami. Security checkpoints. The whole government routine. Campbell was younger than I expected. Early 40s. Sharp suit. Sharper eyes. The kind of guy who'd spent his career catching people who thought they were too clever to get caught. He spread Frank's evidence across a conference table. Photos. Bank statements. Financial records. Took him an hour to review everything, making notes, occasionally asking questions. Finally, he leaned back and whistled. Mr. Collins, I've been working financial crimes for 12 years. This is some of the cleanest documentation I've seen from a private investigator. Your guy's good. Frank's thorough. So, what happens now? Now, I tell you that we've been watching Weber and Associates for over a year. We knew something was wrong. Clients were complaining. Numbers didn't add up, but we couldn't get inside their system. This, he tapped the folder. This is everything we needed, and then some. You just handed us a federal case on a silver platter. I waited. There was more coming. We'll open an official investigation immediately. Get warrants, subpoena records, interview the defrauded clients, build it into something bulletproof. He paused. Your lawyer mentioned you want the arrest to happen at a specific time. The wedding. I want it to happen at the wedding. Campbell studied me. That's bold. As a citizen who's providing evidence, we can arrest a suspect whenever we want once we have the warrant. If you're asking for specific timing, I'd need a good reason. The reason is that Justin Webber has been calling me a walking wallet for months. He's manipulating my daughter, planning to rob us both, cheating on her with a pregnant mistress. He thinks I'm too stupid to see it. I want him to understand exactly how wrong he was. And I want him to understand it in front of everyone he's been bragging to. Something shifted in Campbell's expression. Maybe he had a daughter too. Maybe he just appreciated the poetry of it. When's the wedding? 3 weeks. We can work with that. Timeline's tight, but doable. We'll prepare everything. Get the arrest warrant ready. coordinate with you on the exact moment. He stood, extended his hand. One condition. Though, once we move. No backing out. No second thoughts. Your daughter's going to see her fiancé arrested at her own wedding. You ready for that? I thought about Ashley's face when she talked about her future with Justin. Thought about what that future would actually be. Financial ruin. Betrayal. A man who saw her as nothing more than access to money. I'm ready. Then let's make it happen. The next 3 weeks were the strangest of my life. Days. I played the role I'd been perfecting. Generous. Slightly dim Robert Collins. Happy to write checks and stay out of the way. Evenings. I coordinated with Campbell and Caroline, finalizing every detail. The rehearsal dinner came and went. I sat at the breakers, watching David Weber toast to family, while planning how to extract more money from me. Watched Patricia micromanage every detail while treating Ashley like an accessory. Watched Justin drink too much champagne and get careless. That's when he did it. The thing I'd been waiting for. He raised his glass. Already tipsy. Grinned too wide. And, of course, we have to thank Robert, our generous, our walking. He caught himself. Tried to cover, our walking, inspiration, to Robert. But I'd heard it. The slip, the contempt he couldn't quite hide. Even in front of 200 guests, I hugged Ashley. Looked straight at Justin over her shoulder. I'll do anything to make you happy. Sweetheart. Anything. The message in my eyes was clear. Even if only I could read it. Enjoy yourself. Time's almost up. That night, Caroline called. Campbell says everything's set. The warrants are signed. 4 agents will be embedded in the wedding security team. They'll move when you give the signal. What's the signal? You'll know when the moment's right. When he says whatever he's going to say, you act. They'll be watching. I went to my workshop. Pulled out the envelope I'd been preparing. White. Simple. Expensive paper. Inside, printed copies of the most damning evidence. Photos of Justin with Tiffany. Bank records showing the embezzlement. A note in my handwriting. Copies of these documents are now with the SEC and FBI. Enjoy your wedding. Walking criminal. Added the word criminal myself. Little touch of poetry. The wedding day arrived. I put on my tuxedo. Checked myself in the mirror. Looked the same as always. 6'4" old guy. Little gray around the edges. Nothing special. The walking wallet, except I knew something they didn't. I drove to the breakers. The place was transformed. Flowers everywhere. 240 guests milling around. Orchestra warming up. Patricia was directing staff like a general. David was networking. Justin was showing off for his friends. Ashley found me before the ceremony. She looked beautiful in her $12. 000 dress. But there was something in her eyes. Doubt maybe. Or just wedding day nerves. Dad. Thank you for everything. I know the Webers can be a lot. But you've been so patient. I kissed her forehead. I love you. Sweetheart. That's all that matters. And I'll always protect you. I know. She hugged me tight. I'm lucky to have you. Walking her down the aisle was surreal. Every step felt weighted with what was coming. I gave her hand to Justin. Stepped back. Watched them exchange vows. Part of me wondered if I was doing the right thing. Then I caught Justin's expression as he looked at Ashley. Not love. Calculation. Like he was mentally counting how much she was worth. Yeah, I was doing the right thing. The ceremony ended. Everyone applauded. The newlyweds walked back down the aisle. All smiles. I followed. Found my seat at the head table. Campbell and his agents were positioned around the room in security uniforms. One caught my eye. Gave the teeniest nod. We were ready. Dinner passed in a blur. Speeches started. David went first, rambling about family and tradition while basically patting himself on the back. Patricia talked about how she knew Ashley was perfect for her son the moment they met. Complete fiction. But nobody called her on it. Then Justin stood up. He had that look. The one I'd seen 100 times. Supreme confidence. The certainty that he'd won. Glass of champagne in hand. Grin spreading across his face. The room quieted. Friends. Family. Thank you all for being here on the happiest day of my life. Applause. He waited for it to die down. Soaking it in. Ashley. You've made me the luckiest man alive. And of course, He turned, raised his glass toward me. We have to thank the man who made all this possible. Here it came. Our dear Robert, our very own walking wallet. The room erupted. Some people laughed uncomfortably. I'm not sure if it was a joke. The Webbers and their friends laughed openly. Ashley's face went red, confusion and embarrassment mixing. She looked at Justin, then at me, clearly not understanding what had just happened. I stood up slowly. The laughter died as people sensed the shift in atmosphere. I walked toward Justin. My face was calm, empty. The whole room watched. He was still grinning, champagne in hand, thinking this was part of the fun. Robert, come on. You know I'm kidding. I reached into my tuxedo jacket, pulled out the white envelope, extended it toward him. Justin, I said quietly, my voice carried in the silence. You're absolutely right. I did make this possible. And this envelope contains my wedding gift. Just for you. Open it. His grin faltered slightly, uncertain now, but his ego wouldn't let him back down in front of everyone. He took the envelope, that cocky smile returning. Always so generous. Robert, let's see. Is it a check? How much are we talking? He winked at the crowd. 6 figures. He opened it. I watched his face change. It was beautiful. First confusion. His eyebrows pulled together as he pulled out the photos. Then recognition. There he was, caught on camera with Tiffany at the Fontainebleau. His hand froze. Second photo. Third. Then the bank statements. The financial records showing every fraudulent transaction. The color drained from his face like someone had opened a valve. White. Actually white. His mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. The champagne glass in his other hand started trembling. What? What is this? His voice cracked. Not the smooth, confident tone anymore. This was raw panic. He fumbled through the pages. Found the note at the bottom. I watched his eyes move across the words. Watched the moment he read SEC and FBI. His hands started shaking so hard, the papers rustled. He looked up at me. Then back down. Then up again. Like his brain couldn't process what was happening. You can't. Where did you? I smiled. First real smile I'd shown them in months. It's called evidence. Justin. Turns out the walking wallet knows how to investigate. Who knew? That's when Patricia caught on. She'd been watching from her seat. And now she surged forward. What's going on? Justin. What is that? David was right behind her. Lawyer instincts activated. He snatched the papers from Justin's trembling hands. Started reading. I watched his face go through the same transformation. Confusion. Recognition. Horror. These are confidential financial records. How did you? Nothing confidential about fraud. David. Or did they not teach that at your law school? The 4 security guards moved in. Except they weren't security guards. Not really. Campbell pulled his FBI badge. Held it up so everyone could see. Justin Weber. You're under arrest for wire fraud. Securities fraud. And embezzlement of client funds. The room exploded. Gasps. Shouts. Chairs scraping as people stood up. Phones came out. Started recording. Justin tried to step back. But there was nowhere to go. Campbell's agents surrounded him. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Justin's eyes went wild. He looked at Patricia. At David. At Ashley. Desperate. This is a mistake. Dad? Do something. Campbell pulled out handcuffs. Real federal handcuffs. Clicked them around Justin's wrists right there in his tuxedo. Patricia started screaming. Actually screaming. This is insane. My son is not a criminal. Someone call our lawyer. This is harassment. I turned to her. Kept my voice level. Your son embezzled $4 million from his clients. The FBI has been building a case for over a year. I just gave them the evidence they needed. Her face twisted. Rage and disbelief fighting for control. You did this. You ruined him. We'll sue you for everything. Sueme. I let out a short laugh. Patricia. Your son's going to federal prison. The only thing you should be doing right now is finding him a good defense attorney. Not that it'll help. David tried a different approach. Stepped close. Dropped his voice. The lawyer coming out. Robert. Think about Ashley. Think about what this will do to her. We can work this out quietly. Don't. My voice went cold. Don't you dare use my daughter to try to save him. That's what you've been doing for months. And it's done. Ashley deserves better than a con artist who was planning to rob her blind before running off with his pregnant mistress. That got through. David's face went slack. Patricia made a choking sound. The agents were leading Justin toward the exit. He was crying now, makeup smearing, tuxedo wrinkled. Please. This is my wedding day. You can't. We can. Campbell said firmly. And we are. You'll be processed at the Federal Detention Center downtown. I turned to find Ashley. She was still at the head table, frozen, tears streaming down her face. Expression completely shattered. The wedding guests were chaos around us. Some recording, some leaving, all talking. I walked to her, knelt down beside her chair. Dad. Her voice was tiny. Broken. What did you do? This was supposed to be my wedding. I saved you. Sweetheart. I pulled out my phone. Brought up the folder Frank had compiled. I need you to see something. Everything in that envelope and more. She took the phone with shaking hands. I watched her scroll through the evidence. The messages where the Webbers called her naive. The photos of Justin with Tiffany. The text where he talked about robbing the rich doctor and her old man. Her face crumpled. He never loved me. She whispered. None of this was real. I'm so sorry. Ashley. But better to know now than 5 years from now, when you have kids and he's drained all your savings. Patricia appeared beside us. Her perfect makeup was running, face red with fury. You've destroyed my son's life. We'll sue you into the ground. Your son's a federal criminal. Patricia. The only person who destroyed his life was him. Caroline materialized. She'd been seated among the guests, stepped between Patricia and me. All business. Mrs. Weber. I'd advise you not to approach my client or make threats, especially given that the FBI might have questions about your family's financial practices as well. The Webbers backed off. The guests were filing out, the spectacle too much. Ashley sat there, wedding dress perfect, makeup ruined, life in pieces. I stayed with her, waited for the storm to pass. Justice had been served, but the hardest part, helping my daughter heal, was just beginning. The chaos in the ballroom was like watching a building collapse in slow motion. Guests scattered, some filming on their phones, others calling friends to share the gossip. Justin's groomsmen stood frozen, unsure whether to help or distance themselves. Campbell's agents escorted Justin through the crowd, his wrists cuffed, his face a mask of shock and disbelief. I kept my arm around Ashley as she stared at my phone, scrolling through evidence that dismantled her entire reality. Each swipe brought a new revelation. The group chat where the Webbers mocked us. Photos of Justin with Tiffany at restaurants. Hotels. The beach. Bank records showing systematic theft from his clients. There's more, I said quietly. Tiffany's pregnant. 3 months. Justin promised her he'd leave you after the wedding once he'd extracted enough money from us. Ashley's hand flew to her mouth. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. I was going to have his children. We talked about starting a family next year. I know. Sweetheart, that's why I had to stop this now. Patricia's voice cut through the noise. She was screaming at the remaining guests, trying to control the narrative. This is a setup. My son has been framed. That man, she pointed at me, is jealous and vindictive. He couldn't stand that his daughter was marrying into a better family. A few people actually listened. I saw them looking at me, uncertainty on their faces. The Webbers had connections, reputation, the kind of social capital that could spin a story. David was on his phone already calling someone, probably their family lawyer. His face was calculated, working the angles. Even in disaster, he was strategizing. Caroline appeared at my elbow. We should get Ashley out of here. The media is going to arrive any minute. Someone's probably already tipped them off. She was right. I could hear sirens in the distance. Not more FBI. News vans. I helped Ashley stand. Her legs were unsteady, the massive wedding dress making it harder. Some of her friends from the hospital approached concerned. But I shook my head. Not now. She needed privacy. Not sympathy from people who'd witnessed her humiliation. As we moved toward the exit, David blocked our path. His lawyer mask was firmly in place. Voice smooth, despite everything. Robert, let's talk about this reasonably. man to man. Whatever you think Justin did, I'm sure there's an explanation. Step aside. David, you've made a serious accusation against my son. Federal agents just arrested him at his wedding, based on evidence you allegedly provided. We both know how this looks. A bitter father-in-law upset about being asked to pay for things. Allegedly. I laughed. It came out harsh. Your son embezzled $1. 4 millions. He's been cheating on my daughter for 4 months. He called me a walking wallet in a group chat with you and your wife. There's nothing alleged about any of it. David's eye twitched. The first crack in his composure. Those messages were private, and I saw them anyway. Funny how these things work out. Patricia joined him, mascara streaking her face, but eyes still fierce. We'll sue you for defamation, for emotional distress, and for ruining Justin's career. Good luck with that. Kinda hard to sue for defamation when everything I said is true and documented. But please waste your money on lawyers. You're going to need them for Justin's defense. You're a monster. Patricia hissed. You planned this? You wanted to humiliate him. Humiliate us. No. Patricia, I wanted to protect my daughter. You just happened to be collateral damage. I looked at both of them. Your son is a con artist who preys on vulnerable women and steals from his clients. The fact that you raised him tells me everything I need to know about you. Ashley tugged my arm. Dad. Please. I just want to leave. I nodded. Started to move. David grabbed my shoulder. Big mistake. Caroline was there instantly. Mr. Viva. Remove your hand, or I'll add assault to the list of things we discuss with the FBI regarding your family. Let go. But leaned close. Dropped his voice. You think this is over? You think you've won? I've been practicing law for 30 years. I know every judge in Palm Beach County. Every prosecutor. Every federal agent I finished. Because that's who you're dealing with now. Not local police. You can influence the FBI, the SEC. They don't care about your golf buddies or your country club connections. His face went red. Actually red. The smooth lawyer facade crumbling. I will destroy you. He said quietly. Your business. Your reputation. Everything. By the time I'm done, you'll be too busy trying to keep yourself out of jail. Caroline interrupted. Agent Campbell mentioned they'd be looking into Weber and Associates' business practices. All of them, including the partners. That would be you. Wouldn't it? David, senior partner. His face went from red to white in seconds. We pushed past them, made it to the lobby where my car was waiting with the valet. I'd planned for this too. Made sure we had a clean exit route. The night air hit us as we stepped outside. Ashley was shaking, whether from cold or shock. I couldn't tell. I took off my tuxedo jacket, wrapped it around her shoulders over the wedding dress. News vans were pulling up. A reporter spotted us. Started running over with a cameraman. Mr. Collins, can you comment on the arrest? Did you know your son-in-law was under investigation? Caroline stepped between us and the camera. No, come on. Please respect our privacy. We got Ashley into the car. I slid in beside her. Caroline took the front passenger seat. My driver, someone I'd hired specifically for tonight. Someone discreet. Pulled away smoothly. Ashley stared out the window, silent. The wedding venue disappeared behind us. All those lights and flowers and wasted dreams. I'm taking you to my house. I said, you can stay as long as you need. Your apartment. There's probably media there too. She nodded numbly. My phone buzzed. Text from Campbell. Suspect is being processed. Clean arrest. No issues. You did good. Mr. Collins. Another text. This one from Frank. Just saw the news. Hoi hell. Robert. That was gutsy. Call me tomorrow. Then one from an unknown number. I opened it. Just 4 words. You'll regret this. W. David Weber making threats via text. Lawyers never learn. I showed it to Caroline. She smiled grimly. Screenshot that. Added to the file. Threatening a witness who provided evidence to federal investigators. That's another crime. I did as she said. Then looked at Ashley. She was crying silently, tears dripping onto the white silk of her dress. My daughter. My little girl. The one I'd promised to protect. I'd kept that promise. But the cost was written all over her face. We got home around midnight. Ashley went straight to her old bedroom, I'd kept it exactly as it was when she moved out. She didn't want to talk, just closed the door quietly behind her. I sat in my living room, still in my tuxedo pants and shirt, and waited, because I knew what was coming. The first call came at 1230. Private number. I answered anyway. Robert Collins. Male voice. Un familiar. This is Marcus Webb from the Palm Beach Post. I'd like to ask you a few questions about tonight's events. I hung up. 30 seconds later, another call. Different reporter. I started letting them go to voicemail. By 1 a.m, my phone had 3 missed calls. My email inbox was filling with interview requests. Social media, which I barely used, was exploding with tags and mentions. Caroline called at 1:15. Don't answer any press. Don't comment on social media. Don't do anything until we talk tomorrow. Wasn't planning on it. Good. Because the Webbers are already spinning this. David's given a statement to 3 local news stations. Says Justin is innocent. You're a controlling father who couldn't handle your daughter's independence. The evidence was fabricated. He's claiming you bribed Frank to create false documents. I felt my jaw tighten. Bribed. It's nonsense. But it's what he's putting out there. He's trying to poison the jury pool before there's even a trial. Classic defense attorney move. Will it work? Not with the FBI and SEC already involved. They verified everything independently, but it might make things messier. More public. The Webbers are going scorched earth. I'd expected that. People like them didn't go quietly. The next morning, I woke to find my dealership's Yelp page flooded with 1-star reviews, all posted between 2 and 5 a.m. Dishonest business owner. Would never trust this man. Heard he fabricates evidence against people. Coordinated. Obvious. David's doing. I called my business manager. We're about to get some negative attention. I need you to prepare the staff. Anyone asks. We have no comment. Anyone gets harassed. Call the police. Robert. What's going on? I saw something on the news about a wedding. I'll explain later. Just trust me. This will blow over. But it got worse before it got better. That afternoon, a process server showed up at my house. Civil lawsuit. The Webbers were suing me for defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and interference with business relationships. Asking for $10 million in damages. I called Caroline. They're really doing this. They are. It's frivolous. And it'll get dismissed. But it'll cost you legal fees and time. They know that. They're trying to make this expensive and painful. What do? We fight it. And we file a counterclaim for malicious prosecution once it gets thrown out. This is harassment. Robert, a slap suit designed to punish you for cooperating with law enforcement. Ashley emerged from her room late that afternoon. She'd slept most of the day, still in her wedding dress because she had nothing else. I'd ordered some clothes delivered, but they hadn't arrived yet. She sat at the kitchen table looking hollowed out. It's all over the news. Everyone's talking about it. My phone won't stop buzzing. Don't look at it. Don't read the comments. Too late. She showed me her screen. Social media was brutal. Some people supported her. Others blamed her for not seeing the signs. Some called me a hero. Others said I was controlling and manipulative. Justin's friends are saying you framed him, that you were always jealous of his success. His family's money. They're saying I should sue you too. Are you going to? She looked at me with red, exhausted eyes. Part of me wants to hate you right now. You ruined my wedding. Dad. In front of everyone. I'll never get that day back. The words hit harder than I expected. I know, but I keep looking at those messages. Those photos. The evidence. And I know. Her voice cracked. I know you were right. I know he was using me. Using both of us. And if you hadn't stopped it, I'd be married to him right now. Thinking everything was perfect. While he stole from us and cheated with her, she started crying again. I moved to hug her. But she held up a hand. I need time. Dad, I need to process this. I'm grateful and furious and heartbroken. And I don't know how to feel about any of it. Take all the time you need. That evening, Frank called. You need to see this. He sent me a link to a news article. Tiffany Miller, mistress of arrested fraudster, speaks out. I clicked it. There was Tiffany looking young and scared and pregnant, sitting with a reporter. She'd sold her story. confirmed everything. The affair, the pregnancy, Justin's promises to leave Ashley after draining her family's money. He told me Robert Collins was an easy mark. She said in the interview, said the old man was desperate to be needed. That he'd pay for anything if it made Ashley happy. Justin laughed about it. Called him, she paused. Looked down, called him the walking wallet. The phrase went viral immediately. Bdziewięć zero p.m. Walking wallet was trending on social media. Memes. Think pieces about elder financial abuse. Hot takes from people who'd never met me. My phone buzzed. Text from David Weber. Congratulations. You've turned my son's life into a circus. I hope you're satisfied. I wrote back. Your son did that himself. I just made sure everyone could see it. His response came fast. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. You have no idea what you've started. But I did. I'd started a war with people who had money, connections, and nothing left to lose. The Webers were going to make my life miserable in every way they could. Caroline called again. Campbell just contacted me. Justin's lawyers are trying to get him released on bail, claiming he's not a flight risk. Has ties to the community. The hearing's in 2 days. Will they let him out? With over $1 million in embezzlement charges, doubtful, but his family has resources. They might post whatever bail the judge sets. I looked out my window at the street. A news van was parked across from my house. They'd been there all day, waiting for me to emerge. Ashley was in her room. The Webers were attacking from every angle. My business was being targeted, my reputation questioned, and somewhere in a federal holding cell, Justin Weber was probably plotting his next move. But I'd known it would be like this. Knew the moment I decided to act that there'd be consequences. Mess. Fine. Public scrutiny. Still worth it. I'd saved my daughter from a con artist, stopped a criminal from hurting more people, done what I set out to do. Now I just had to survive the aftermath and make sure the Webers didn't take me down with them. The next 2 weeks were a battlefield. The Webers' civil lawsuit moved forward despite Caroline's motions to dismiss. David hired an expensive PR firm to rehabilitate Justin's image. They planted stories. Promising young consultant targeted by vindictive father-in-law. Local businessman uses FBI to settle family grudge. Some people believed it. My dealership saw a 10% drop in foot traffic. 3 employees received threatening calls. 1 customer actually spit on my sales manager's car. But then the dominoes started falling. The SEC formally charged Justin with securities fraud. Not just embezzlement. They'd found evidence he'd been running a Ponzi scheme, using new investors' money to pay returns to old ones. The total climbed to $1.8 million. Weber and Associates Investment Group collapsed. The firm's other partners, who'd claimed ignorance, suddenly faced their own investigations. Turned out they'd all known. They'd all participated. 3 days after the wedding, one of Justin's victims appeared on local news. An elderly woman, 78 years old. She trusted him with her retirement savings. He seemed so nice, she said, crying. He called me every week. Said my money was growing. I found out it was gone. All of it. The public narrative shifted overnight. Suddenly, I wasn't the villain. I was the father who'd stopped a predator. The fake reviews on my dealerships disappeared, replaced by supportive messages. This man protected his daughter and exposed a criminal. Real hero. Sales actually increased. Then came the real blow to the Webers. The Florida Bar Association opened a formal investigation into David Weber's law practice. Turned out, several of his clients had filed complaints about missing settlement funds. He'd been borrowing from client trust accounts to cover his expensive lifestyle, always planning to pay it back before anyone noticed. Just like his son, the apple hadn't fallen far. His law partners held an emergency meeting, voted him out. 32 years of practice ended with a press release. Mr. Weber is no longer associated with this firm. Patricia's social circle evaporated completely. The country club didn't just exclude her. They revoked her membership entirely. Her charity boards asked her to resign. Former friends blocked her number. I watched it all unfold with grim satisfaction. Not celebration. I took no joy in their pain. But justice. Absolutely. Justin's bail hearing came. Caroline and I attended. Sitting in the back of the courtroom, Justin looked terrible. 3 days in federal lockup had stripped away his polish. Orange jumpsuit, unshaven, eyes hollow. His lawyer argued for release. My client has strong community ties. No prior criminal record. Poses no flight risk. The prosecutor stood up. Young woman. Sharp voice. Your Honor. The defendant stole nearly $2 million from vulnerable victims. Some of them elderly. He has access to offshore accounts we're still tracing. He's engaged in systematic fraud for over 2 years. And as recently as 3 days ago, he called his pregnant mistress from jail and discussed fleeing to the Cayman Islands. Justin's face went white. They'd been monitoring his calls. Of course they had. Bail denied. The judge said, defendant will remain in federal custody pending trial. Justin's head dropped. Patricia, sitting in the front row, let out a sob. David just stared straight ahead, stone-faced. As they led Justin out, he looked back, saw me sitting there. His expression, pure hatred mixed with disbelief, like he still couldn't understand how the walking wallet had destroyed him. I met his eyes, didn't smile, didn't gloat, just looked at him until he turned away. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Caroline gave a brief statement. Justice is being served, Mr. Collins acted to protect his daughter and other potential victims. He has no further comment at this time. That night, Frank called with an update. Tiffany Miller's lawyer contacted the DA. She's willing to testify against Justin. Says he told her details about the embezzlement scheme, how he planned to drain your accounts after the wedding. It's devastating testimony. And the pregnancy, paternity test confirmed it's his. She's filing for child support, even from prison, and he'll owe her 18 years of payments. I almost laughed. Almost. Karma works in interesting ways. That it does. Oh. And Robert, the fake reviews on your business. I traced the IP addresses. All came from David Weber's law office. That's cyber harassment. Caroline's adding it to your counterclaim. Everything was unraveling for them. Every lie exposed. Every scheme revealed. Ashley slowly emerged from her grief. Started therapy. Returned to work at the hospital. Her colleagues surrounded her with support. They'd all seen Justin's true nature in the news. One evening, we sat on my back deck watching the sunset. She'd moved back home temporarily. Needed the safety of familiar walls while she healed. I got a message today, she said quietly, from Justin's lawyer. He wants me to write a character letter for his sentencing. Says it would help reduce his sentence. What did you say? I said no, that he chose his character through his actions. And I won't lie about that. She looked at me. Was that okay? More than okay. That was strong. I keep thinking about what you said about taking things apart to see what's broken. I feel like that's what happened to me. My life got completely dismantled. But maybe that's what needed to happen to see the truth. And now you can build it back correctly. Stronger. She nodded. The foundation was always solid. I just lost sight of that. For the first time in weeks, I felt something loosen in my chest. She was going to be okay. We were going to be okay. The Weber's civil lawsuit got dismissed the following week. Not just dismissed. The judge sanctioned them for filing a frivolous claim. They had to pay my legal fees. $38,000. David's bar investigation concluded. Suspension, pending full hearing. He'd likely be disbarred within 6 months. Justin's trial date was set. His lawyer tried to negotiate a plea deal. The prosecutor's offer, plead guilty to all charges except a 12-year sentence. Justin refused. Wanted to go to trial, still believing he could talk his way out. His lawyer quit. Said the case was unwinnable, and Justin wouldn't listen to reason. Everything the Webers had built, reputation, wealth, status, was crumbling, and they'd done it to themselves. I just made sure everyone could see it happen. 3 months after the wedding that never was, Justin Weber stood in federal court for sentencing. He'd eventually accepted a plea deal. 10 years in federal prison, full restitution to his victims, permanent ban from securities trading. His lawyer, the fourth one to take the case, looked relieved it was over. I sat in the courtroom gallery with Ashley and Caroline, watching, bearing witness. The judge asked if Justin wanted to make a statement. He stood, orange jumpsuit replaced by an ill-fitting suit. His face had that hollow look. Permanent residents of lockup develop. I accept responsibility for my actions, he said. His voice was flat, defeated. I hurt people who trusted me. I hurt my fiancé. I made terrible choices. I noticed he didn't actually apologize. Still couldn't quite manage that. The judge wasn't impressed. Mr. Weber, You systematically defrauded vulnerable people for personal gain. You betrayed trust, violated laws, and showed no remorse until you were caught. This court sentences you to 10 years in federal prison. You'll serve at least 85% before parole consideration. Justin's shoulders sagged. Patricia, sitting across the aisle from us, put her face in her hands. David stared at nothing, looking 20 years older than he had 3 months ago. As they led Justin out, he looked at Ashley one last time. She met his gaze steadily. No tears, no anger, just nothing. He'd become irrelevant to her life. That more than anything seemed to break him. His face crumpled as the marshals took him through the door. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited. Ashley surprised me by agreeing to speak. "I want people to know," she said under the cameras, voice steady, "that my father saved me, not just from a bad marriage, but from someone who saw me as a transaction. I'm grateful he had the courage to act, even knowing it would be painful. That's what real love looks like." I stood beside her, said nothing, let her have her moment. Later, Caroline gave us the final tally. David Weber had been disbarred, his law practice dissolved, assets seized to pay back the clients he'd stolen from. He'd moved out of the Palm Beach mansion, foreclosure proceedings already started. Patricia had left him, filed for divorce, claiming she'd been unaware of his crimes, trying to salvage something from the wreckage. She'd moved to her sister's house in Atlanta, tail between her legs. The Webers' civil suit against me had cost them everything they had left. My counterclaim was moving forward. Harassment, defamation, malicious prosecution. Caroline expected a settlement within weeks. "They're broken," she told me, financially, professionally, socially. David's facing his own criminal charges. He'll likely end up in prison too. I felt no triumph, just satisfaction that justice had been served. Ashley healed slowly, started dating again. Carefully this time. With her eyes wide open, she moved back to her condo eventually, ready to reclaim her independence. One Saturday afternoon, she came to my workshop. I was finishing the restoration on the 1967 Corvette I'd been working on through everything. "It's beautiful," she said, running her hand over the cherry red paint. 3 years of work, I said. Had to completely rebuild the engine, replace the transmission, retho all the interior. But it's exactly what it should be now. She smiled. "Is that your way of making a point?" "Maybe. Sometimes things have to be completely taken apart before you can fix them properly. I'm not broken, Dad. I know. You're being rebuilt. And you're doing it yourself. Which is even better." She helped me wipe down the car. We stood back to admire it together. "You know what the worst part was?" she asked. "Not the humiliation. Not even the betrayal. It was thinking I'd lost your respect. That you must think I was so stupid. Never. Not once. You trusted someone you loved. That's not stupid. That's human. He was the one who failed. Not you. Walking wallet." "Huh." She shook her head. "He called you that right to your face and thought you didn't understand how wrong he was. Very wrong. Turns out this walking wallet had teeth." She laughed. Actually laughed. First time I'd heard it in months. More like the walking wallet was really a walking reckoning. That evening, I got a letter from the FBI. Official commendation for my cooperation in the investigation. They had recovered $1.6 million of stolen funds and were distributing it back to victims. I pinned it to my office wall, not from pride, from remembrance. A reminder that sometimes the right thing to do is also the hardest thing to do. My phone buzzed. Message from an unknown number. I almost deleted it, but curiosity won. "This is Tiffany Miller. I know you don't owe me anything, but I wanted to say thank you. You exposed Justin for what he was before he could hurt more people. My baby will grow up knowing the truth about their father. That's because of you." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, "Take care of yourself and your child. That's the best revenge there is." She sent back a simple, "I will." Life returned to normal. Not the old normal. A new one. Better in some ways. Ashley and I were closer. My business thrived. The scandal had actually helped. People wanted to support the guy who'd stood up to fraudsters. 6 months after the wedding, Ashley and I sat on the dock behind my house. Same spot where we'd sat after her mother's funeral all those years ago. Full circle. "You know what I learned from all this?" she asked. Watching the sunset paint the water, orange and gold. What's that? That love isn't just supporting someone's dreams. Sometimes it's protecting them from their nightmares. Even when they don't know they're having one. Especially then. We sat in comfortable silence. Two people who'd been through a war and come out the other side. Dad, yeah. Never let anyone call you a walking wallet again. You're the furthest thing from it. I smiled. What would you call me instead? She thought about it, then grinned. Walking justice has a nice ring to it. Don't you think? I'll take it. As the sun disappeared below the horizon, I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the investigation, the public humiliation at the wedding, the aftermath, the victory. Justin Weber was in federal prison. David Weber would likely join him. Patricia was alone and disgraced. The victims had most of their money back. Ashley was healing and stronger for it. And me. I'd learned that sometimes being the walking wallet means you carry more than money. You carry responsibility, truth, justice. And when someone tries to pick your pocket, you make sure they pay for it in full, with interest. If you like this story, subscribe to our new channel and listen to a few more stories there. You can find the link in the description or comments. Subscribe so you don't lose us. Because this channel may soon cease to exist.